Hello, 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 and welcome to Walk, Talk, Health. Aging and disease are predominantly caused by two main factors. That's DNA damage and chronic inflammation. As the channel name suggests, you and I are going to go on an amazing walk today, and we're going to discuss health. In particular, ways to mitigate the DNA damage and that all-important chronic inflammation to improve your health significantly. Now, combining the topics we discuss over a series of these walks and talks can have a significant effect on your health, your well-being, your longevity, and you really can live longer, healthier. So where are we today? Well, by popular demand, we're back at Indian Valley and the Harth mountain waterfall trail. If you recall, last time we stopped here and we went back to where the car was parked along this path, and we're going to show you this path today. The subject for this walk and talk is eye health. I think most of us, if we're honest, take our eyesight for granted, and it's not until something happens to it that we really appreciate how important it is. The vitamins that we're going to discuss during this walk and talk and various other aspects of health not only affect eye health, but they're crucial for many things that go on inside the body that help fight that chronic inflammation and stop that DNA damage. So by taking note of the things we discussed today in terms of foods to eat and protocols to follow, not only will you be improving eye health, but you'll also be improving all kinds of other important functions within the body, like your immune system. So before we begin this walk and talk, to make sense of the things we're going to discuss, I think it would be a good place to start would be to look at a brief anatomy of the eye. First of all, we have the cornea, which is the clear coating, protective coating around the eye. Light comes in through there and it focuses on our lens. The lens then basically focuses the photons that come through it onto the back of the eye, onto the retina. Those light is detected and passed along the optical nerve into the brain, and then the brain turns that into the picture and the visions we actually see. Now, the macular part of the eye, as illustrated here, is actually where our central vision is concentrated. So that's our HD vision. That's the bit we see in the center part of our not our peripheral vision, but the central part. Our peripheral vision, the bits we see when we're looking ahead and you can kind of make things out left and right, is actually very weak. You know, it's not even standard definition, but compared with the HD we see from that central part of our vision, that's what's crucial, and that's when we talk about macular degeneration later. That's what we're talking about, the damage to that central part of our vision. So let's start with vitamin A, probably one of the big ones. Vitamin A, or deficiency of vitamin A as regards to the eye, can lead to night blindness, which is pretty rare. Most people haven't heard of it, but basically when the light gets low, people start to struggle to see. People with night blindness can't drive at night, for example. And that's due to a pigment called rhodopsin, which is found in the retina at the back of the eye. And without this pigment, which needs vitamin A to create it, we basically can't see anything when it gets dark. Vitamin A also is important for the health of the cornea, that clear part that coats the eyeball and protects it. Without vitamin A, we get something called dry eye, which is basically very painful and makes it difficult for our eyes to function. We can also get cataracts. Cataracts is when the lens, read the diagram we just looked at, where the photons of light passing through the cornea and hitting the lens, that lens clouds over. it no longer is able to allow the light to pass through, and it becomes cloudy. So imagine looking through a constant fog. And if that gets particularly bad, the only option we have is to have the lens cut out and an artificial lens put in. And finally, there's the macular degeneration. So without sufficient vitamin A, the part of the retina, as illustrated in that video, gets damaged, it gets clogged, and it ceases to function, and we lose that all-important central HD vision. So where do we get vitamin A? Vitamin A comes to a large extent from actually precursors from beta carotenes. These are things found in all orange and yellow fruits and vegetables, sweet potatoes, carrots. You know, you've heard the saying, you know, eat your carrots, you'll get good eyesight. It's actually true. Leafy greens, liver, eggs, and dairy products. Moving on to vitamin B1 or lack of, that can result in cataracts and retinopathy. So if we're looking for sources of vitamin B1, we're looking at wheat bread, we're looking at nuts, we're looking at seeds. And all forms of vitamin B are actually found in nutritional yeast. B1 is also known as thiamine, and it can also be derived from brown rice. Retinopathy is actually related to diabetes. It's caused from glycation, from buildup of sugars in the cells, which damages the blood vessels and the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the retina. This can cause blurriness, difficulty identifying colours, and again, something that we really want to avoid. So B1 is pretty important. Similarly, with vitamin B2 deficiency, also known as riboflavin, we can get cataracts, but you also get macular degeneration. So again, B2, very important. We get B2 from dairy products, so we're looking at cheeses, milk, and from leafy greens. Moving on to vitamin B3, also known as niacin. Lack of this can lead to glaucoma, which is basically damage to the actual optic nerve itself. The only option, apart from obviously preventing it or halting the disease progression, is for laser surgery. So to get vitamin B3, we're looking at fish, meats, and also whole grains. That leads us on to vitamin D, one of my favourite vitamins. In fact, it's really a hormone. I've done an entire video on this, and I'd urge you to check that one out. In fact, maybe I'll link to that at the end of this one. Vitamin D, or lack of it, can lead to cataracts. Again, we can get vitamin D from things like the sun. Our skin actually produces vitamin D when UVA hits the skin. Obviously, UVA can cause damage, so spending too much time outside getting vitamin D produced is not a great idea, but nonetheless, some exposure to the sun is. We also get it from fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, and we can also get vitamin D from egg yolks. Finally, we have zinc, which again, lack of zinc can cause both cataracts and macular degeneration. Sources for zinc, the highest source of zinc is actually oysters. Not everyone likes oysters, but they've got the highest amount of zinc. Then meats generally also have zinc in them. Then we have things like nuts, seeds. My favourite seeds are pumpkin seeds. And of course, you can also supplement. We'll talk more about that later. I mentioned earlier on beta carotene. These are a family of what they're called carotenoids. They're phytonutrients. They come from plants, and they are very important as they're a precursor to vitamin A in particular. The body needs these to produce and absorb vitamin A where it's needed. Carotenoids are also antioxidants, which we've explained in previous videos, basically taking out the oxidative stress that's caused by cell activity, and they're also anti-inflammatory. That's a big one, right? We know that chronic inflammation is responsible for most illnesses in the body, and they are also, it needs to be pointed out, fat soluble. So you do need to consume these with a level of fat, so something like a cheese or a cream or meat that has a fat content, for them to be absorbed correctly into the body. Two of my favourite carotenoids are lutein and xanthine, which you can get from tomatoes and the green leafy vegetables I mentioned. But they're so important that I actually take a supplement on a daily basis, because not only does it help with eye health, but it also helps with inflammation in the brain. So it's good for cognitive decline and preventing things like Alzheimer's. So moving on to things we can do to heal the eye and strengthen the eye, starting off with low levels of infrared light. Infrared light we typically can't see in terms of the light spectrum. You can buy these infrared light panels, actually just going out in the very early morning sun or the very late evening sun, when the UV level is almost non-existent and it's all basically infrared, can do amazing things in terms of healing the eyes and also reducing the inflammation in the eyes. Then we move on to omega-3 fatty acids, which we find in fatty fishes, we find it in seeds, and we find it in nuts. That also has an anti-inflammatory effect and a healing effect on the eye, in particularly the retina. Castor oil is one that hasn't been proven in trials, but there is huge amounts of anecdotal evidence, people reporting that applying a little bit of castor oil on their lower part of the eye, the eyelid, the lower part of the eyelid at night before they go to bed, has a significant impact on reducing floaters, you know, those black snake-like things that can move across in front of your eyes. People report by putting that on, it reduces those. I actually started applying castor oil maybe a month ago, and I myself, I believe, are actually seeing some benefits from doing that. Something else you can do to help reduce eye damage and potential disease is wear a good pair of these. UV light entering the eyes, if too much of it gets in, can cause damage to all parts of the eye. Finally, before we get on to some exercises to help strengthen the eye, there's a few things that you're probably not going to want to hear, but the first thing is exercise is crucial to eye health. Again, it helps with oxidation, helps with inflammation. It doesn't have to be strenuous. It can be a walk like we're doing today. And the other thing that quite often causes eye damage is too much sugar intake. So particularly carbohydrates, you know, bread, pasta, all the things we love, ice creams, keeping those to a minimum is again very important for eye health. But also giving up things like alcohol, which is high in sugars. As I said, you probably didn't want to hear it, or at least keeping it to a minimum if you're serious about maintaining good eyesight for the majority, if not all of your life. This last one is probably the most controversial in terms of upsetting people, but it shouldn't come as a surprise that smoking actually causes more eye damage than pretty much anything else we've discussed so far. So difficult one, I know, for those of you that are watching this that are smokers. I guess your decision is difficult but simple. If you continue to smoke, you're going to increase the chances of the different eye damage and diseases we've mentioned considerably. Generally keeping fit and healthy, so you're combining reducing your carbohydrates, the exercise, eating healthy greens, vegetables. It's kind of common sense, I know, but it also makes sense. You know, our bodies are designed to heal. Our bodies are designed to work properly, but more often than not, it's the damage we do to our bodies ourselves through lack of exercise, through eating the wrong things, through smoking. Okay, we're coming down to a really beautiful part of the walk, and that is the lake. I believe this is a man-made lake, but nonetheless, it's pretty. So finally, we're going to move on to some exercises that can actually help with things like blood flow and nutrient delivery to the eyes and muscle strength. Sometimes bad eyesight can be as simple as the muscles that control the shape of the eye, which determines the focus of the eye, can be weak. So let's maybe start off with that exercise. I have to take these off to demonstrate it. So all you do very simply is you hold a single finger out in front of your eyes, you focus both eyes on it, and yes, it's going to look funny, I'm going to go cross-eyed, but that doesn't matter because this is about eye health, and you simply move it in, keeping both eyes constantly on the finger and trying to keep it in focus the whole time. And what I'm doing when I'm doing this is I'm actually exercising all the muscles that are engaged in terms of shaping the eyeball so that the light passing through the cornea onto the lens is then correctly focused at the back of the eye on the retina. You can also switch this out by trying to keep your head forward, moving your eyes to one side to keep an eye on the eye, moving it forward. But each time I'm trying to keep the finger in focus, and in so doing I'm exercising all those important eye muscles. In terms of time, start off with maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes per day in the morning when you first wake up and you're refreshed, to exercise the eye muscles to set you up for the day. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to basically look at increasing blood flow. To do that, we're going to very gently massage the underneath areas. This is, by the way, where the castor oil was applied. I apply it at night in terms of reducing those floaters in my eye. But we're going to massage the same area here, just very gently. Never put too much pressure on it. In circles, and the same above the eye. Just gentle massaging. The other thing this actually does is activate the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is very important for the heart-brain connection in terms of feel good. But we're talking about eye health at the moment. And as you can see, I'm just very gently massaging the eyeball, and that's helping blood flow get to the eye and all the nutrients it needs, including all those vitamins we mentioned during the walk and talk. Let's say the lake's it's quite pretty. It's not huge, but it's got a nice mixture of reeds and water. We've seen what looks like turtles in the middle there. I don't know if you can see them on that log. Let's see if I can zoom in. I think that's turtles on the log, which is pretty cute. It's a really nice walk. I think I mentioned in the previous walk at this trail, the walk goes up to 540 feet in elevation over only 1.5 miles approximately. So it's a pretty steep climb, but it is dramatic and a beautiful walk. The total trail is 3.4 miles. There aren't any toilet facilities that I've seen anyway here at the walk, so make sure you have an empty bladder before you come. So just the usual disclaimer, whilst everything we've talked about today are all natural, all the vitamins we've mentioned, it's possible that if you're on certain medications, zinc for example, I know can interfere with heart medication, so always discuss these things with your doctor before you take anything to excess, particularly if you're going to start to look at supplements to instead of the natural forms of vitamin A, B1, B2, B3, vitamin D and zinc, then you almost certainly should discuss that with your doctor. It's time to ask for a big favour. This channel is in no way monetized. Its sole purpose is to reach as many people as I can to help them on their health journey. So can I please ask you to hit the like, subscribe and the bell notification if you want to know about future videos when I bring them out. But most importantly, can you please comment, maybe ask a question about the things we discussed today, maybe tell me where in the world you're actually watching from. I always find that really interesting to know who's watching and where from. All these things help the algorithm decide who to push these videos out and encourages it to send it to more people, which in turn will help me help other people in their health journey to live longer, healthier. Thank you. Okay, let's recap. So we've looked at the eye in terms of how it works and operates, and we have established that the lack of certain vitamins can lead to all kinds of eye conditions. Those eye conditions are night blindness, they are dry eye, they are glaucoma, they are cataracts, there's macular degeneration, and the way to prevent or to halt these diseases is to get the correct vitamins. We're looking at vitamin A, we're looking at vitamin B1, B2, B3, which we know we can find in nutritional yeast. We can find these vitamins mainly in the foods that we eat. So we're looking at green leafy vegetables, we're looking at meats, dairy products, nuts, seeds, the sun for vitamin D, plus brown rice, whole grains and egg yolks. We also have carotenoids that are plant phytonutrients found in typically yellow and orange fruit and vegetables. I personally take a supplement of lutein and zeaxanthin because it's so important in terms of that precursor to vitamin A, and are good for antioxidants and inflammation generally throughout the body. Finally, things like exercise, eye movement exercises, massage, and giving up smoking, reducing our sugar intake, all can have a major effect on our overall eye health. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Walk and Talk. I certainly have. Please join me next time when I'm going to talk about berberine, which is a naturally occurring substance that's good for helping control sugar in our blood, which as you'll discover when we look at it, is very, very important from an overall health and longevity point of view. In the meantime, if you want to know more about vitamin D and my previous video, I'd encourage you to watch this one right here. See you next time.